Essendon is the team to beat. Top of the ladder is where we'll meet. Black and yellow will never be beat. Keep you pumping to your edge of your seat. Essendon is the team to beat.
Welcome everyone to TAC Tiger TV for another week. A little bit disappointed this week in at Punt Road Oval because the boys did get a football lesson from Essendon last Friday night, going down by 70 points, but we're still in it. That's what the beauty of the top four position means. We are still in there with a shot against Carlton this week. Two guests to help me talk about last Friday night's game, the one coming up and of course their own history. Two very special guests indeed in Tony Jewell and Neil Balme. Make them welcome. Welcome, fellas. TJ, we've disturbed you from your evening dinner, I hear.
Actually, no. Well, I'd eaten. I was just about to sleep on the couch. And anyway, it's great to be here amongst rich people.
Because with that moustache, mate, you always run the risk of having some remnants of dinner
lots of good thing about it, mate. Yeah.
Now, it was disappointing last Friday night, wasn't it?
Well, I suppose the fact that we lost and no one wants to lose. But I mean, I thought that it was a huge ask, absolutely huge ask, to play Essendon twice in a week, given that I think they had 19 players in their side that played in premierships. We had 4 that hadn't played in a finals game, didn't know what the heat was like. You know, it was just, and that was one of the reasons we really fought hard for the double chance. I mean, I know Danny was absolutely shattered after the game, but I said to him, look, I wouldn't have backed us with bad money. You know, if you're a punter, you wouldn't have backed us. There was just, I mean, to think that we could come up 2 weeks in a row, having given the fact that we'd disclosed what we were going to do, how we were going to beat them the week before, and Neil and Noah as an ex-coach, there's nothing worse than sitting there after you've won and then having a fun up the next week against the same opponent and trying to come up with some new tricks, and especially against Sheeds. So, I mean, it was disappointing that we went down by 70, but I thought there was just some good signs, and some blokes that really did stand up, like Chaffee was really hard down under, which hasn't been a feature. You know, there's a few blokes that really stood up, I thought, the young blokes. But
is that how you saw it, Balme? Because I was actually super confident last week. Yeah, I really was.
You're not on the board anymore, Tony.
Yeah, I am on the board.
A reasonable board. I couldn't believe it.
No,
it actually is refreshing to hear Tony. I mean, he wouldn't have said that before the game to anyone, but afterwards, they're a pretty tough side to knock off. And I tipped Richmond more out of hope than any particularly good judgment. You said, well, I hope they get up. I was hoping that the fact that the Tigers were, because they were harder at it the week before, it's sometimes hard to turn that around. But Essendon managed to find a way. I mean, they really are a very powerful side. So it was very disappointing. But as you said, there's a second chance there, and that's what you work hard all season to get. So there's another crack at it, and anything can happen.
They did come out hard, and I think that showed in the tackle count something like 52 to 33, which is a huge gap. Huge gap.
And I thought they went out of their way to intimidate us. Even Hurd was mouthing off of their young blokes, you know, and I think. And they did intimidate us. I mean, there's no doubt of that. I mean, they're experienced campaigners. So, but we'll learn a lot from that. I mean, we know what to expect now. We know where the bar's at, and I think you'll find a completely different group of fellas confront Carlton on Saturday.
Well, certainly, the couple of times the Tigers have been tested physically this year, they have bounced back pretty well the following week. Yeah,
well, it seems to me that sides think we are a little bit soft, but North, the second last half game of the year, came out and really tried us physically. Port Adelaide did it over there to us, but we've answered most of those challenges, and it can look like you're a little bit soft sometimes when you're on the back foot, but we've answered most challenges this year, and Neil might be able to, well, I suppose he can't because he's at Collingwood, but
but I don't think they're soft at all. I don't think they are. I think there's always a physical challenge every week you play against the side, and when you've got talent like, I mean, this isn't the Essendon show, we shouldn't be pumping them up, but they've got so much talent in reserve that's what overcomes you, not the hardness in my view, but they are a hard side as well.
Okay, so obviously Spud, you said, was pretty flat after the game, but he's got to bounce back, and I think, just speaking to a few boys this week, they are confident again, and they're quietly confident.
Well, look, Spud was flat, but I mean, I must say, by the time he talked to the players straight after the game, he was up and running again. I think he realised I mean, every coach is optimistic. Neil said he was optimistic, and I think most people were optimistic we were going to win. So if you're optimistic and then it doesn't work out your way, you're going to be a bit flat. But honestly, it took him 5 minutes to realise that, you know, that it was a daunting task. That had we won it, it would have been just a remarkable effort, and that we had a new opponent coming up, and we're every chance to beat either Adelaide or Carlton, and a real even money chance, you know. And so he was buoyed pretty, you know, and he got on with the next week. He didn't dwell on the loss at all.
From memory, and I didn't do a lot of research on this one, but Adelaide lost a final a few years back in '97 or '98, one of their finals campaigns, and went on to.
I think Melbourne thrashed them.
Yes, that's right.
And they came back and won a flag. So, I mean, it's probably not the ideal way to go about it, but it's certainly possible.
Yeah. All right, fellas. One of the guys who's been fantastic for Richmond since he crossed over from Fitzroy is Paul Broderick, and I know Spud showed a bit of footage of Brodders to the boys, and we've been lucky enough to get our hands on it. So sit back and relax and enjoy this tribute to Paul Broderick.
Broderick in the road.
Left foot.
Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. So make the best of this test and don't ask why. It's not a question, but it's in time. It's something unpredictable.
Good solid bump by Broderick. Perfect hip and shoulder.
I hope you had the time of your life.
Nigel Luckett, he dives on it, then he was caught a little bit high. Here's Broderick. A step. Oh, that's a brilliant goal.
So take the photographs and still frames in your mind. Hanging on a shelf in good health and good time.
Steins.
Tattoos and memories
Takes it
and
out.
dead skin on trial.
Leaves them all in his wake.
For what
Three
it's worth,
bounces.
it was worth all the while.
Broderick back there.
Something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life.
Taken by Broderick, sharks it, can feed it off here to Prescott, who'll get support. Ball in the back of the pack. How did he get up there? Now you see him, now you don't. Started pretty well. In all sorts of trouble there as Blakey. Broderick. Off the left, he likes it. Gritto. This ugly pack which is forming. Welsh runs on the wing. Very well tackled by Broderick.
It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life.
High, into the pocket. Silvani holding. 19 ball okay. Broderick. What can he do? Broderick to the goal! To the goal! Paul Broderick!
You had the time of your life.
Welcome back. Well, that was terrific stuff. I remember when Brodders first came over to the club, he just injected professionalism straight away. It's handy to have players like that in your side, isn't it?
I think at Collingwood got quite a few experienced players from other clubs this year, didn't you? That just, yeah, they do make a difference if as long as they're professional
For the right type.
Yeah, the right
like
time.
Brodders is, yeah.
And we got Butch Gale at the same time, I think, and so we're pretty lucky.
Well, do either of you miss coaching? Because I mean, both of you coached for so many years. Do you still miss it?
Well, in some ways you do, but overall I don't. I think you do it and you enjoy it, and whilst you sometimes miss, on game day you'd like to be a bit more involved sometimes, but it doesn't take long to be able to have a loss. And you sit back and you look at Danny or look at Mick and you say, I'm glad that's not me.
Yeah, Danny's starting to look like me already.
Well, because I was going to say, I was going to get to that actually, because Balme, you always appeared, when you were coaching at Melbourne, and I probably didn't know much about your coaching record over in South Australia, but when you were coaching Melbourne, you always seemed to be fairly relaxed, even when things weren't going great at the end of that tenure. But you seem to be more composed than, say, TJ in a few of the pictures we saw of him in the MCG coach's box.
I think we were probably about equal, as it turns out. I was always, if something happened, I would react really quickly, but I'd cool down very quickly. So I reckon that was probably not a bad way to be. And I don't think you can coach if you don't do that, because otherwise you'd finish up, when you're with the players, you're not able to be rational. But I remember Tony running into me one day and shook my hand and said, "Thanks, well done." I thought, what have I done? He said, "Well, that shot last week of you when Jeff Farmer used to go, he got him off the air for that." The shot needs to show of him, so similar.
Well, I had two brothers who played under you, TJ, and they loved it, and they really do say that they enjoyed that time under you, but they said that, you just wore your heart on your sleeve, and that's probably the way you are, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's the only way I knew how to coach, and actually one of the reasons I just gave it away altogether, because I did lose my fire and my belly, and I just had no more. It's the most stressful thing I've ever done, without any question, and so yeah, and the fire just went out. I just couldn't, and when that went out with me, I had no other tricks. I had to wear my heart on my sleeve. Well, it didn't have to. That's how I coached anyway, and so. That's why I gave it away. And it burns you out coaching like that, I might add, pretty quickly.
Yeah. Fellas, we'll take a short break, have a word from TAC, and we'll be back shortly.
It's not going to be sorted out right here and now. Put the video on with the CDs.
Yes, same. Let you hear the soundtrack to Dreamer, because you didn't kick the winning goal in '98, my friend.
Essendon, 85. Essendon Hawthorn. What was that?
I don't know.
What's going on there? Man, I'm out of here.
We're getting the train next time, mate.
Tiger. What's the party?
I'll get it, Rob.
Hello, Lillian.
Hello, darling.
You got some clothes for the Brotherhood of St. Lawrence?
I got a wonderful hat.
Well, look at that. That'll make a great shelter for the homeless. You don't have any clothes,
Of course, I got a couple of little numbers.
Well, look at this. This has got to be your Sunday best.
It's my gardening clothes.
Yes, I'd hate to see your underwear.
Help the Brotherhood help others by donating good quality clothes you don't need. For collection, phone 9303 4141.
The Comic Box. On our first episode, our guest was attacked by a wrestler. On the 50th episode, we got our producer's nipples pierced. And on the 100th episode, we interviewed a man with a bucket on his head. Tune in and find out what new depths we sink to this week on The Comic Box. Oh yes, there's the Wheel of Stupidity too. Fall on The Comic Box.
Why don't you come join me each week here and get a lift out of your television viewing? Come taste the spices for the fashionable. Because here on Channel 31, 15 fabulous minutes, we have a host of famous faces. So why don't you put on your dance shoes and we'll take you behind the scenes to hear the music here on 15 fabulous minutes.
Hi, this is Wendy Matthews, and it is absolutely ab-fab all over the place here. It's oozing with ab-fab. See ya.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Well, two ex-coaches. What's going to be the focus this week, Spud's focus? Balme, what do you think?
Actually, I haven't thought that much about what his focus would be. It's a good question. We should have given me some notice. I've looked a bit smarter. Would have been able to answer it. Actually, it doesn't matter what I think it'll be. It's a matter of what Spud thinks it'll be. But I think it looks to me as that though the team's they've just played every week. They've really had a crack at trying to set up the way they want to play their own game and control the footy. I imagine they'll try and do that. Carlton will be pretty hard to knock off because they're pretty hard at it. Tony might have a better idea. He's a bit closer.
Oh no, I think you're right. I think just much the same. We we've got a few strengths that I think our height will worry them a bit, and they'll be hoping it's not a windy day like last week, or because I really do think our height can trouble them. And we had the advantage of sitting in the stand watching them, and they wouldn't have learnt much from us being flogged by Essendon. So we've got a few things up our sleeve, and so I think it'll be a very competitive game.
Certainly, there doesn't seem to, or doesn't really appear to be any panic amongst any of the camp. Supporters probably don't feel it, which is strange because a lot of the Tigers supporters in the past, if they've had a big loss,
They felt it after the game.
They can be vicious.
They weren't happy with the loss after the game, which is fantastic, and I think that's one of the strengths of the Richmond Football Club is the fact that our supporters don't accept defeat too well, although they've had plenty of practice at probably...
They've been very patient
very
supporters,
patient,
we probably should say that.
Yeah.
Well, it is a big game. I mean, you blokes were involved in finals against Carlton for a number of years, and that's probably where the great rivalry was really set. Barney, everyone always talks about your involvement with the 73 grand final, but is that the way you play? I mean, I guess my generation sees you as that guy in that footage who was being fairly physical in the goal square against Carlton. Is that the way you play generally? Is that an unfair picture?
Oh, I think footy was a lot different, and Tony will he would attest to this. Footy was a lot different in those days than it is now. There was it was probably a bit more brutal, but when I sort of think about it, it was only a couple of years before those games that kids were sent off, 18-year-olds were sent off to Vietnam to fight in the war, and it was a sort of a different life, a different thing. And so some of the things you did on the field look now as though they were pretty rough, but it was sort of part of what you did. And I think even in the earlier days, the 60s, the footy was probably even harsher. But we were very serious. We were pretty serious about winning in those days. I mean, we really were prepared to do anything to win. And I don't mean that in an awful sense. We really prepared to have a crack at it. And then 72 was a wonderful game by Carlton, and they beat us, and we were probably embarrassed is a good enough word to say, and we had 12 months to atone for it, and I think we were prepared to do anything in 73.
Well, John Nichols is actually, I think he's been quoted in the past as saying that the Richmond team of 73 and 74 was close to the best that he'd sort of witnessed. So it is right up there. TJ, what about your performance in one of the finals against Carlton? Not as a player, but as a coach. It is quite comical now, isn't it, looking back and seeing a few fisticuffs? Yeah.
Well, I think I've said it elsewhere. I mean, it was hardly attacking Muhammad Ali. It was more like John Cleese, coming at me. So it wasn't too brave, I want to tell you, and then it was nothing really happened. I mean, and he was stuttering that much. I didn't know what he was really trying to say. So. Man, we're good mates, but yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I guess the pair of you would have to look on that now and
have
just
a good laugh about it. We're actually fighting over Rudy Webster. That was who was the West Indian psychologist. That was what it was over.
He had been at Carlton and had that
the year before, yeah. And Graham Landy knocked Ken Sheldon out just before quarter time, which sort of didn't help matters either. And I think Kevin Bartlett had kicked 3 goals, and we were well on the way to winning. But for some reason, he took a dislike to Rudy walking down the race with me. And as I said, I'm really not sure what he was saying. It was all, when he gets excited, he had the old stutters going. And but Rudy took offence to it. And then as we were breaking up at quarter time, Rudy said, "He's calling me names again." I said, I don't know what it was, So I just sort of waved the flag for. On Rudy's behalf.
There was a lot of girly slaps though, wasn't there?
Oh, yeah, there was nothing in it. I was going to really land one, and I heard Grubb, the runner at the time, yell out, "Don't do it, TJ!" And so I sort of half pulled up, but thankfully,
it's good footage. It's good stuff. All right, so this week against Carlton. Who are the main players that the Tigers need to be wary of this week? I mean, I know Cooter has come off a huge game. He and who else do you think, Barney?
Well, their midfield has been... actually, the player you've got to watch is Jimmy Plunkett.
Yeah.
He sneaked up on us a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. Which means that, I mean, they're a good all-round side, and that's what makes them good. If you don't look at Camporelli, he'll bob up. If you don't pick up Bradley, he'll kick a goal. And
Lappin.
And Lappin has been a real good player for him. So, and then if you don't pick up the kid at centre half forward, he'll kick 5 on you. So they're just a good balanced side, and they like to keep a hold of the footy.
Certainly their marking options in the forward line always have a go, don't they? I mean, someone like Adrian Hickmon, who is vast, I think still underrated, is just terrific at the footy. And he probably creates the goals for the likes of Lappin and so on.
They sort of set their forward line up. I think they acknowledge they haven't got too many real big marking options, so the way they set up is really to turn forwards around, and they sort of set up on one side and use that space. They do it pretty smart, but they play a 5-man forward line. So yeah, but and they've got good rucks now in Allen and Porter, so they're But as I say, they've got their worries with us as well.
Well, that's what I was just about to get to that. We've mentioned their strengths. How are we going to get over the line this week? What do we need to fire for us?
Oh, we'd certainly want to go into the game with a lot more. I think now that we know what we're up against, I mean, there's no doubt we were a little bit shell-shocked when Essendon really put heat on us, and I don't think most of the young fellas weren't really ready for the intensity of the game. You know, if you haven't played one, you can talk about it and do what you like, you know, get old players in and get advice, but unless you've been in one, and especially against the likes of Essendon, you just don't know. But we've been there now. They know what to expect. It doesn't matter what anyone throws at us. They've experienced it, and I think we'll be a much more settled side and certainly be able to, you know, take Carlton on without being pushed on the back foot or set on the back foot with that ferocity and intensity that Essendon display. Yeah,
and Balme, you've probably been privileged to be able to sit back and just watch both teams over the last couple of weeks from a different perspective. How do you see the game unfolding?
Yeah, I think that's the trick, is that the Richmond blokes can't afford a double handle, and they've got to make sure, and this sounds really simple, they've got to push their numbers over to back up, because that's exactly what Essendon did. They just had the numbers were there. Everything, they got tackled by one bloke, broke out, there's another one there. Or they got the footy, they give it to one bloke, then there's another one. And when Richmond have played their best this year, that's what they've done. Their strength has been they have pushed the numbers over there, they've used the ball pretty well. But the trick against Carlton, the way they play, is to move it really quickly. And if you get the ball quickly into your forward line with the sorts of players we've got down there, I mean, that's got to be the trick, because they will push players behind the ball. You'll see the Whitnell across half back, and that can't happen if you move the ball quickly. So things haven't changed much in footy, have they? No. If you play on quickly and move it quickly, well, you can put a lot of pressure on it.
Yeah, it certainly worked for us
and you've got that height. If you've got the blokes up forward who can take a mark, it does put a lot of pressure on when you're one-on-one.
Fellas, we're just about to wind up. I really must thank both of you for coming in. I know it's late on a Monday night, and you've both been terrific in coming into Tiger Greats. And just a reminder, next week, if the Tigers don't get up, which we're all confident that they will, of course, but if they don't, there won't be a show next week. Feel free to still book, and we'll still see you next Monday night, all going well, but otherwise there won't be a show. We have been able to find 5 minutes or so of highlights of TAC Tiger TV this year. It's been very difficult finding that much, but we've been able to scrape it together, and we've got that to go out with. We'll see you, fingers crossed, next Monday night.
Welcome, thank you very much. Welcome to TAC Tiger TV. Let's stick on the education, mate. Now, I love Tiv there, you know, too many big words, apparently, for your teammates to keep up with. Do you have a bit of trouble in social situations with them? Do you have to dumb down a little bit?
Oh, please. This is a hatchet job. Please. No.
Hey, speak slowly so your teammates can understand you, mate. Mark Lee was actually the first cult character I developed at Richmond, and I actually stole a pair of his socks after a game from the MCG change rooms in 1980. And those socks are the closest thing I have in my wardrobe to lingerie.
Oh, definitely. Look, and the ultimate is when you play the game is to play in a premiership, and I was lucky enough in my third year to playing one, and I know it was only against Collingwood, but it was still a premiership. You know,
I'm glad that I've got you on the couch.
Really?
For years, I copped abuse about my love of Kylie Minogue's music, and from you. It was from you. You would her great hits. You would know every single word to those songs,
especially the modern ones. Yeah, they're good.
So what's going on? Why give me the hard time for all those years?
Well, because you used to sing them in the showers all the time, and I just doesn't help.
to be good looking in football? Chap, you're working on the body apparently.
I had this big woolen heavy jumper my mum knitted in about 1976 and the big turtleneck and everything. I actually wore it out.
You're very loyal to your mum's knitting, aren't you?
Yeah, I love my mother, mate. Yeah.
She's a nice lady, but she churns out some shocking garments. Don't get too carried away, Kevin. It still goes on air, you know, and they're very picky, the AFL. We don't want you guys to get in trouble, although a bit of controversy could do us wonders.
I spoke about they.
They. Have you got a new name for them now?
Martians. I was only outside actually talking to the possums in the park.
That windy peak is a good job.
You're maligning our players again.
But they're not here, mate. It's, you're allowed to do it if they're not here. How do you see that, you know, blokes sort of getting in on teammates' sisters and family?
We'd all finished training and we're having a shower and we're putting our clothes back on. And Nathan's walking out the door nude with his bag saying, "Righto, fellas, catch you tomorrow night."
Yes, and Naty, how's the tambourine going?
Tambourine's going fantastic. Thanks, Bowers.
Yeah. We'll see you shortly.
Just wondering whether I could get maybe a number.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Maybe.
Maybe?
Maybe. No!
No, okay. No, it's in my new watch, there.
Oh, lovely.
It's actually telling me you're not wearing any underpants. Is that correct?
Oh, Lord!
That mauve really is your colour, I think. That'll do me, I think.
I think this is a yes. That's terrific.
Yeah, glad to have you here. It's a bit tight up there.
No, it's beautiful. I love this. It's fantastic. Come on, legends.
Now, one vote.
Matthew Richardson.
Matty Richardson. That is the easiest vote getting since Robert Klomp in the Ansett Cup. Ty, I hope you've got your wallet with you, mate, because there's plenty more on offer here. Do you hope to play for the Tigers one day?
Yeah, maybe. I'm not much of a footy player, so I'm not good.
Or maybe you could run the club, because that's what all those blokes are like. Who do you think was Richmond's best player?
I don't know.
Not sure? I'll give you a clue. There was one guy there who kicked 5 goals by the name of Jewell Bowden, who probably deserved a couple of votes. Does that sound familiar?
No.
No?
There's a lot of funny people at the Richmond Football Club, yeah. A lot of funny people.
They're a hoot, mate.
TAC Tiger TV, brought to you by the TAC. Drink Drive, Blood Idiot. Masashi Sports Drinks since 1928.